Hey guys, so today I want to share with you guys how to pick the right investment. Okay, this is Ray Chen. So today we're gonna talk about the criteria of picking the right investment. So that's first. Before I start, let me share with you my criteria. So my criteria is that we invest in value add properties. That's multifamily properties that are 50 units plus within 1 mile radius of major hospitals in cities with job and population growth and with population of no less than 100,000 population. Okay, so that's my criteria. And also, when you decide to, so for a long time I was kind of on the fence. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was looking at all kind of properties, and I was confused. But then what I found out is that when I don't have a focus, when I do not decide what I want to invest in, then I end up investing nothing. So finally, I made my decision. I will only invest in multifamily. At least in the meantime, that's my focus. I'm not gonna look at anything else. That way I can focus, and that way I can move forward. So first, before you want to do anything, you want to have to first make sure you make the decision, right? Once you make the decision, then you can start the action. If there's no decision, there's not going to be any action, because you're always deciding and you're just idling, right? So that's why so I decided to focus on multifamily. I mean, it's not to say, let's say if you're focusing on investing in warehouse, it's not to say that you cannot invest in warehouse. So let's say if all your experience is in warehouse investing, you can still invest in multifamily, because you can partnership. For example, you can partnership with people that are experienced in investing in multifamily property, right? Then you can partnership as a limited partner, and then you can, after you have vetted the property, you think it's a good property, it can make you a lot of money, then you put money in there. So you partnership with other investors that already have the experience in that industry, right? Okay, then we're gonna talk about this idea of economic engine. So it's more of a selection criteria in the microeconomy sense. So I actually learned this from Sam Zell. So he was talking about this philosophy of economic engine. So basically, he said you want to invest in areas that has an economic engine. It could be a big city, or it could be a hospital, or it could be a college. Because let's say a hospital, for example, it has a lot of employees, and they pay the employees good money. Naturally, those employees, they need a place to stay, right? And also because they get paid good money, then they have money to pay for the apartment rent, right? So that's the idea. So that's why I picked to invest in apartment properties that's within 1 mile radius of a major hospital. So that's the idea to think about. So another thing you want to think about is the deal size, right? You want to decide what's the ideal deal size you want to invest in. So what deal size you invest in, it does make a big difference. Obviously, if you have the money, if you have the resource, you want to invest in as big of a size property as possible. Even if you do not have enough money, you could put the money together with people. Let's say, for example, let's say if you're trying to buy a $5 million property, that's 200 that's 100 units, $5 million. Let's say if you do not have $5 million, let's say if you get 4 people, each come up with $500,000, so you get each come up with $250,000, and you make up $1 million in down payment, and then you can use that down payment and get a mortgage to purchase that $5 million property. And once you hold it for a couple years, you raise the rent, then it might be possible to sell it for $10 million. Let's say on the other hand, if you're only doing a little flip, and let's say if you put all $500,000 cash into this flip, and you work on it for half a year to a year, and you end up making $100,000, $200,000. In that case, you're also spending $500,000, and you're spending the whole year, but you only end up making $100,000 or $200,000. But with the same amount of money, you invest. Let's say you invest in this $5 million property, and let's say if you're LP, you're a limited partner, you're not really involved in the daily process. And after 3 years or 5 years, you end up making much more money than that little flip that you did, right? So just an idea, okay? So when you decide on what size of property you invest in, the management also make a big difference. Let's say if you just have a small property that's a 5 unit that's like 1,000 miles away for you, it's hard to manage, right? If you try to find a good manager, maybe they're not willing to do the job for you because it's just such a small job, right? Let's say if instead, going back to the same example, if you actually invested in the 100 unit properties, it doesn't matter it's where it is. It could be in Florida, it could be in Texas, but because it's such a big unit, you have two options, right? Number one option, you can make your own management company. You can hire your own management people, you can hire your own handyman, and then you can manage them to take care of the property. Or another option is you can find a major property management company, and you can have them to manage for you, because they will take you more seriously, because you have much more business for them, right? Then in turn they're gonna try to do a better job. So that's the idea about the unit size. Then let's talk about the location criteria. So as far as the location criteria, number one most important thing is that you want to have population growth, right? So about last year, I tried to purchase a mobile home park in south of Houston. It's in about 1 hour away drive south of Houston. Initially, I was trying to buy it, and the property looks pretty nice, and the price is nice too. But then I discovered that the population is actually decreasing, and the job is decreasing too. So when I see that, I don't really see a growth potential, a major growth potential. Even that, so because at the time I was trying to buy it for $700,000, and I just couldn't see myself to making much more money after 3 or 5 years. So that's why I canceled the property and canceled the purchase. So that's why population growth is very important. When the population grows, then your property price will grow as well. And also the second thing is that you wanna to go back to the population. So when you have more population growth, obviously there's gonna be higher demand for the apartments. And number two, the job growth. When you have more job growth, more people will move into the area, and the more people will have the money to afford the rent, right? So that's why job growth is also very important. And another thing is that you want to see that home value in the area are growing as well. So if the home value, if the homes they're not growing, if the price not growing, then that means the general economy is probably not that good. The area is probably not doing very well. And another important thing you want to look at is the crime trend. So generally you want to invest in an area with the crime rate no more than 400 score. So let me give you an example. So recently, last month, I just signed up a new listing in Compton. So I put a nice description online and I upload to Facebook. And the description said nice home in Compton, was on a quiet and safe street. And people started making fun of me on Facebook. They were saying, "Oh, who you trying to lie to, that you're saying that Compton is a nice place and also there's bars on the window." So I got interested, right? So then I started to do some research on the crime rate in Compton, because when I went to meet with homeowner, actually I feel the Compton is getting much better. I've been to Compton many years ago, but recently when I went to Compton, seems like the city is getting better, everything's getting cleaner, and everything getting much safer. Everywhere is getting much safer. So I went to check the crime rate. The crime rate actually improved a lot. So from a couple years ago, the crime rate used to be almost 700, 600 plus. Now I checked it. Nowadays, the crime rate is a little bit over 400. It's still a little bit high, but it's night and day compared to 2 years ago, what Compton used to be, right? So that's why crime rate is very important, because if the area is not safe, nobody's gonna go there. Nobody's gonna move there. Nobody's gonna invest there. Obviously, then it's not gonna grow. So, and another thing you want to look at is probably cap rate. So cap rate. So the way you calculate cap rate is that you get the gross income, then you subtract the expenses, then you get a net operating income. Then you use the net operating income to subtract the price. So I would say you can use cap rate as a way to gauge where is this property at as far as the pricing is concerned, but don't use it as a primary factor, because if all you're looking at is if it's the cap rate, then let's say if you get a property that has a really high cap rate, that means the property probably will not have too much growth potential. It probably will not have too much potential to grow. Let's say if you happen to get a property with low cap rate, that means there are property potential to growth, and meaning that there is probably will be profit when you try to sell it as well. So that's just my 2 cents on the cap rate. Also, then to decide on where to invest, it's about the preference, location preference or personal preference. So I know there's some people, they're only willing to invest nearby where they live, but sometimes when price get too high, become too prohibitive. Then and also when the government agency become too restrictive, it's become not good for the landlord, then maybe you want to consider invest out of state. So there's many popular places out of state. People invest in Texas, people invest in Florida, people moving to these states. So then how do you decide these states, right? So how do you decide is there's a couple of factors that you can look at. So the number one factor you can look at is the travel. So let's say if I can travel there, just a short flight away. For example, I was looking at some investment in Yuma before, Arizona. It's very convenient, right? I get on the airplane in Ontario airport and it only takes 1 hour for me to get there. And also it's convenient in Dallas too. So I just came back from Dallas. It only took me like 2 hours to fly there and back and forth. So it's non-stopping flight, direct flight to there, and the airfare is cheap too. So I mean, I'm not saying you gotta go look at your property every day, but maybe you're gonna go there at least 1 or twice a year. So if the travel is convenient, that's a good option. Another thing to look at is probably the weather, right? So some people, they like the cold weather. Most people like the warm weather, because when you have warm weather, it's easier to take care of the property. So that's why a lot of people, they're interested in states like Texas, Florida, New Mexico, Alabama. So these states, usually this area is generally in the south region of the United States. So another thing you look at is familiarity. Have you been there before? For example, when I was in the Army, I was stationed in upstate New York. That's kind of out of my question because I usually do not prefer cold location. Then when I did my boot camp in Fort Benning, Georgia, that's nearby Columbus. So Georgia became a possible location because I have some I'm sort of familiar with that area, right? Also, when I was in the Army, I went to Jacksonville, Florida, and I was in Panama. So all these places where I have been to or stayed there for a couple months, so I have some type of familiarity. So those may be my option for future investment. And also another thing you look at is, do you know anybody there? Do you know anyone in the area? So so that if you do need some help, then you have boots on the ground, right? And also you can check out the reports, right? There's many reports out there, the best place to move to, the best city with the most new tech job, etc., and the area with the most rent increase, the area with the most price increase. So you can study this report to see. And so basically, as far as investing and as far as where to pick, as far as what type of property invest in, it's a lot more art than science. So it's a combination of both. So it does take some study. It does take some tinkering to finally get what's right for you. And the good thing is that this is not a one man's game. This is a team sport, right? So like I said earlier, if you can put the money together and if you can buy a bigger property, and you can realize more gain, and also you have more set of eyes to evaluate the property for you, and also not to mention you have all these resources you can combine it with each other, right? For example, let's say if I'm in California, if somebody else is in Florida, if my investing partner is in Florida, then we can use each other's resources. So yeah, so this is my 2 cents about investing and the criteria. So this is Ray Chen. So if you have any question, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon. Until next time.